The last rays of Lambda Centauri caught the crystalline towers of New Eden, casting long shadows across the hidden human colony that had become humanity's greatest achievement and their best-kept secret. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the Phoenix Dawn, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the massive warship's final components being assembled in the orbital shipyards. 20 years had passed since the Galactic Union had expelled humanity from their ranks. The official reason: dangerous technological experimentation. The truth: humanity had refused to bow to the Union's demands to share their quantum-fold technology, fearing it would be weaponized by the more aggressive species in the coalition. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander James Rodriguez's voice carried across the deck. The quantum core is stabilizing better than expected. We're looking at 147% efficiency. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Phoenix Dawn represented everything the Union had feared, and everything humanity had achieved in exile. The ship's sleek obsidian hull contained technologies that the Union scientists had declared impossible, powered by a quantum core that could rewrite the laws of physics themselves. "Any word from our deep space monitors?" Sarah asked, turning to face her second-in-command. James's expression darkened. "Yes, Mom. The Void Heralds have breached another Union defense line. 3 more systems lost in the past week. The Union's conventional weapons are useless against their phase-shifted vessels. The Void Heralds, a species that had emerged from the dark space between galaxies, wielding technologies that made the Union's most advanced ships look like children's toys. They consumed entire star systems, converting matter into energy to fuel their endless expansion." Sarah walked to the holographic display, watching as it showed the Herald's inexorable advance across Union space. The arrogant Union, which had once cast humanity aside, now faced extinction at the hands of an enemy they couldn't hope to defeat, not with their current technology. "Status report on the quantum fold drive," she asked, her eyes fixed on the spreading darkness in the hologram. "Final calibrations complete. Admiral, the Phoenix Dawn can execute a combat fold at will, bypassing conventional spacetime limitations. We've also confirmed that our phase-matched weapons can penetrate Herald shields." Sarah nodded slowly. The ship represented humanity's greatest achievement, a vessel that could match, and exceed, the Herald's capabilities. But using it meant revealing their existence to the Union, exposing their hidden colony, and confronting the very powers that had cast them into exile. "Send word to the Council," Sarah ordered after a long moment. "Tell them it's time. The Phoenix Dawn launches in 12 hours. As James hurried to relay the orders, Sarah returned her gaze to the massive warship. Its obsidian hull seemed to drink in the starlight, the quantum core pulsing with barely contained power. The Union had feared human innovation, had tried to control and contain it. Instead, they had forced humanity to evolve beyond their wildest expectations. In the assembly bays below, crews worked tirelessly to complete the final preparations. The Phoenix Dawn wasn't just a warship, it was humanity's statement to the galaxy. They had survived exile, had thrived in the shadows, and now, when the Union faced its darkest hour, they would return. Not as supplicants begging for raid mission, but as equals offering salvation. The Union would have to face the consequences of their actions, and humanity would finally take its rightful place among the stars. As the last components locked into place, Sarah felt the weight of history settling on her shoulders. Tomorrow, the Phoenix Dawn would emerge from hiding, and the galaxy would remember why humanity had always been both feared and respected. The exile was ending. The return was about to begin, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. High Counselor Ventar of the Galactic Union stood frozen before the emergency session's holographic display, his silver scales dulling with distress as he watched another Union battle fleet dissolve into nothing before the Void Herald's onslaught. The council chamber, with its soaring crystal arches and ancient medallions, had never felt more like a tomb. "The Arcturus defense line has fallen," Admiral Cavall announced, his tentacles writhing in agitation. The Herald's phase-shifted weapons cut through our strongest shields like they don't exist. We've lost contact with 3 more colony worlds. The gathered counselors erupted in panicked whispers. The Arcturus line had been their strongest defensive position, fortified with technologies from a dozen advanced civilizations. Its fall meant the core worlds were now exposed. Perhaps a quiet voice cut through the chaos. It is time we acknowledge our mistake. Counselor Zira, one of the eldest members of the Union leadership, rose from her seat. Her crystalline form caught the chamber's light, casting rainbow patterns across the floor. 20 years ago, we cast out the humans because we feared their potential. Now, that same potential might be our only hope. The humans. Ventar's scales rippled with surprise. We haven't had contact with them since the exile. We don't even know if they survived. A new hologram materialized in the chamber center, showing a massive vessel of impossible design. Its obsidian hull seemed to bend light around it, and energy readings from its core defied known physics. This image was captured by our long-range sensors 6 hours ago, Zira continued. The vessel emerged from uncharted space at the edge of the Centauri sector. Its energy signature contains quantum patterns we've only seen in one place before: human technology. The chamber fell silent as the counselors studied the mysterious ship. Its very existence challenged everything they had assumed about human capabilities after the exile. They didn't just survive. Admiral Cavol whispered, his military training allowing him to appreciate the vessel's implications. They evolved. That ship's design. It's generations beyond anything we possess. Before anyone could respond, the chamber's communication array burst to life. A human woman appeared before them, her bearing military, her dark eyes carrying the weight of command. Greetings, High Council. I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Federation vessel Phoenix Dawn. We've monitored the Void Herald's advance across your territory. We're prepared to offer assistance, under certain conditions. Ventar felt his scales flutter with a mix of hope and trepidation. Admiral Chen, your timing is fortuitous. Though I must admit, we're surprised to find humans have advanced so far in isolation. A slight smile crossed Sarah's face. Isolation breeds innovation, Counselor. The Phoenix Dawn represents technologies you once feared we might develop. Now, those same technologies may be your only hope against the Heralds. And your conditions? Zira asked, her crystalline form vibrating with curiosity. Simple. We'll help you defeat the Heralds. But afterward, humanity's status in galactic society will be renegotiated. As equals, not subjects. The exile ends today. The council chamber erupted in debate, but Ventar barely heard it. His eyes remained fixed on the holographic image of the Phoenix Dawn. Its impossible hull spoke of technologies that shouldn't exist, of advancements that challenged everything the Union thought they knew about physics. We should have known, he murmured to himself. When we cast them out, we didn't contain their potential. We unleashed it. As the council argued around him, a new alert flashed across the chamber's displays. The Void Heralds had breached another defense line, their phase-shifted vessels cutting through the Union's most advanced ships like paper. They would reach the core worlds in days. Enough. Ventar's voice cut through the chaos. Admiral Chen, we accept your terms. Whatever happened in the past, survival must take precedence over pride. Sarah nodded, her expression grave. Prepare to receive our tactical data. The Phoenix Dawn will arrive at your position in 30 minutes. I suggest you clear your shipyards. You're about to see what humanity can really do. As the transmission ended, Ventar turned to face the gathered counselors. 20 years ago, we made a decision based on fear. Today, we face the consequences of that fear. But perhaps, in facing extinction, we might find redemption. The chamber's displays showed the Phoenix Dawn beginning its approach, its impossible hull reflecting starlight in ways that defied conventional physics. The ship represented everything the Union had once feared about human potential. Now, That same potential was their last hope for survival. The Phoenix Dawn hung in space before the assembled Union fleet, its obsidian hull making it look more like a hole in reality than a vessel. Admiral Sarah Chen watched the tactical display as the Void Herald's advance fleet approached the Proxima Centauri system. Their phase-shifted vessels rippled like heat mirages against the backdrop of stars. Union fleet is in position, Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez reported, his hands dancing across the quantum interface. Though I'm not sure how much help they'll be. Their weapons can't even touch the Herald ships. Sarah nodded, her expression grim. They're not here to fight, James. They're here to witness. Signal the engineering deck to begin quantum core spin-up. Deep within the Phoenix Dawn, the revolutionary quantum core began to pulse with impossible energy. The ship's hull resonated in harmony, creating ripples in the fabric of space-time itself. This was the technology the Union had feared, and now it was their only hope. Herald vessels entering weapons range, the tactical officer announced. They're charging their phase cannons. Let them fire first, Sarah ordered, her voice calm. Let's show the Union exactly what they've been missing. The lead Herald ship unleashed a barrage of energy that should have annihilated everything in its path. The Union fleet commanders watched in horror as the deadly beams approached, then stared in disbelief as they simply ceased to exist upon touching the Phoenix Dawn's hull. Quantum nullification field holding at 100%, Rodriguez reported with a hint of pride. Their weapons literally don't exist in the same reality as our shields. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Now it's our turn. Deploy the phase-matched cannons. Target their command ship. The Phoenix Dawn's hull shifted, sections realigning as weapon ports unveiled themselves. The quantum core's pulse quickened, channeling energy into systems that defied conventional physics. The ship's main cannon fired, not a beam of energy, but a concentrated burst of altered space-time itself. The Herald command ship never had a chance to react. The quantum burst passed through its supposedly impenetrable shields as if they weren't there, striking the vessel's core. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself seemed to hiccup, and the massive Herald ship simply ceased to exist. By the first stars, a Union commander's voice crackled over the comm. How is this possible? Simple physics, Sarah responded, even as she ordered targeting solutions for the remaining Herald vessels. Once you understand that reality is just a consensus agreement between quantum states, affecting it becomes a matter of engineering. The remaining Herald ships began to break formation, attempting to regroup. For the first time in their campaign of conquest, they showed signs of uncertainty. Their phase-shifted technology had made them seemingly invincible, until now. They're attempting to calculate a fold space jump, Rodriguez reported. Trying to escape. Not today. Sarah's voice hardened. Activate the quantum anchor. Let's show them what happens when you try to run from a human warship. The Phoenix Dawn's quantum core pulsed once more, creating a localized distortion in space-time that trapped the Herald vessels in normal space. Their engines flared uselessly against the quantum lock, like birds beating their wings against an invisible cage. What followed wasn't really a battle. It was a demonstration. One by one, the Herald ships vanished, their advanced technology proving useless against weapons that operated on principles they couldn't comprehend. The Union fleet watched in stunned silence as humanity's exile-born technology systematically dismantled what they had considered an unstoppable force. When the last Herald vessel disappeared from existence, Sarah opened a channel to the Union flagship. That was just one ship, using only a fraction of our capabilities. The full Earth Federation fleet stands ready to deploy similar vessels across Union space. The question is, are you ready to accept us as equals? The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, High Counselor Ventar's voice came through, heavy with the weight of realization. We feared you would become too powerful to control. Instead, we forced you to become more powerful than we could imagine. Perhaps it is time for the Union itself to evolve. As the Union fleet fell into escort formation around the Phoenix Dawn, Sarah looked out at the stars. Humanity's exile had ended not with a plea for acceptance, but with a demonstration of just how far they had come. The real challenge would begin now, proving they could be trusted with the power they had developed. The Grand Council chamber of New Eden hummed with tension as representatives from across the Union gathered for the first time in humanity's hidden capital. The crystalline spires outside cast prismatic patterns across the assembled aliens' faces, some scaled, others crystalline, a few purely energy-based, as they watched Admiral Chen present the full scope of the Void Herald threat. Their attack on Proxima Centauri wasn't an isolated incident, Sarah explained, manipulating the holographic display to show the Herald fleet movements. It was a probe, testing our capabilities. Our intelligence suggests they're gathering for a massive push into Union space, and this time, they'll be ready for the Phoenix Dawn. High Counselor Ventar's scales shifted in distress. But you defeated them so easily. Surely with more ships like the Phoenix Dawn. The Heralds are adaptive. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez interrupted, stepping forward. They've already begun modifying their phase shift technology based on data from our encounter. The quantum nullification field won't be as effective next time. The chamber erupted in worried murmurs, but Sarah raised her hand for silence. This is exactly why we've brought you here, to New Eden. It's time for humanity and the Union to truly work together. Your civilizations possess theoretical frameworks we've never considered, while we've developed practical applications you thought impossible. She gestured to the massive engineering bay visible through the chamber's transparent walls, where dozens of ships were under construction. Their designs merged the sleek efficiency of human quantum technology with distinct elements of Union architecture. These are the first products of true cooperation between our peoples, Sarah continued. Hybrid vessels that combine your understanding of phase space dynamics with our quantum manipulation technology. But they're not enough on their own. What more do you need? Asked Zira, her crystalline form refracting light as she moved closer to examine the holographic designs. Your trust, Sarah replied simply. Complete access to your scientific archives, your theoretical models, your cultural databases, and in return, we'll share everything we've developed during our exile. No restrictions, no holding back. The silence that followed was heavy with history. 20 years ago, the Union had exiled humanity for refusing to share their technological advances. Now, humanity was offering everything, but as equals, not subjects. There's more, Rodriguez added, his expression grave. Our deep space sensors have detected something troubling. The Heralds aren't just gathering ships. They're building something massive on the edge of dark space. Something that's affecting the fundamental constants of reality in its vicinity. The holographic display shifted to show a massive construction, like a dark star made of impossible geometries. Even the recording seemed to twist space around it. By the first stars, Ventar whispered. What are they building? We believe it's a reality engine, Sarah answered. A device capable of rewriting the laws of physics themselves within its area of effect. If they complete it, no amount of technological advancement will save us. They'll simply change the rules until they win. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just a war for territory or resources. It was a battle for reality itself. We have 3 months, Sarah continued. 3 months before the device becomes operational. In that time, we need to combine our knowledge, build a fleet unlike anything this galaxy has seen, and prepare for a battle that will determine not just who controls space, but what kind of space we'll be living in. Zira's crystalline form pulsed with determination. What you're proposing, it goes against 20,000 years of Union protocol. Sharing all of our knowledge, combining our technologies without restriction. Protocol hasn't saved us from the Heralds, Ventar interrupted. Perhaps it's time for the Union itself to evolve. He turned to face Sarah. You have the Union's full cooperation, Admiral Chen. Whatever you need. Sarah nodded, relief visible in her expression. Then let's begin. Lieutenant Commander, initiate Project Synthesis. It's time to show the Heralds what happens when humanity and the Union truly work together. As the chamber erupted in activity, Sarah gazed out at the shipyards. The Phoenix Dawn had proved that humanity could stand alone against the darkness. But to save reality itself, they would need to do something even harder: learn to stand together. The next 3 months would change everything. The only question was whether they would be enough to save the galaxy from what was coming. At the edge of known space, where reality itself grew thin, the combined fleet of humanity and the Union faced the gathered might of the Void Heralds. The Phoenix Dawn led the formation, but it was no longer alone. Hundreds of hybrid vessels, each combining human quantum technology with unique aspects of various Union species sciences, flanked it in a battle line that stretched across the stars. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the Phoenix Dawn's bridge, watching as the Herald's reality engine pulsed with impossible energy. The massive construct twisted space around it, its very presence threatening to unravel the laws of physics. Reality engine at 92% power, Rodriguez reported, his voice tense. 15 minutes until it achieves full operational status. Union ships report ready. Ventar's voice came through the comm. The High Counselor had insisted on commanding one of the hybrid vessels himself. Though I must admit, I never thought I'd see Union quantum crystals powering human warships. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The past 3 months had transformed both humanity and the Union. Barriers that had stood for millennia had fallen as species after species shared their deepest technological and cultural secrets. The hybrid fleet was proof that together they were greater than the sum of their parts. Herald Fleet is moving to intercept, Rodriguez announced. Their phase shift signatures are different. They've adapted. As expected, Sarah responded. Signal the fleet to initiate Operation Synthesis. Let's show them what true cooperation looks like. The hybrid fleet moved as one, their combined technologies creating effects that should have been impossible. Crystalline ships channeled quantum energy through living circuits, organic vessels wrapped in fields of pure mathematics. Each design represented the perfect fusion of multiple civilization sciences. The Heralds struck first, their weapons warping space itself. But where such attacks had once been unstoppable, now they met prepared defenses. Union phase crystals redirected spatial distortions, while human quantum fields stabilized reality itself. Reality engine at 95%, Rodriguez reported. We need to move now. All ships, execute attack pattern Omega. Sarah commanded. Remember your training. Fight not as separate species, but as one unified force. The battle that followed would be remembered for millennia to come. The hybrid fleet moved with impossible coordination, each ship's unique capabilities complementing the others. When Herald weapons twisted space, Union crystals bent it back. When reality itself began to fray, human quantum technology rewove it stronger than before. But the Heralds were far from defeated. Their reality engine continued to pulse, each wave of energy making it harder to maintain normal space. Ships from both sides began to dissolve as local physics became unreliable. Engine at 98%. Rodriguez's voice was strained. 2 minutes to full power. Sarah's hands tightened on her command rail. Everything had led to this moment. Initialize the quantum resonance cascade. All ships, prepare to channel power to the Phoenix Dawn. This was the true purpose of the hybrid fleet, not just to fight the Heralds, but to serve as one massive quantum circuit. As energy began to flow from ship to ship, the Phoenix Dawn's core pulsed with unprecedented power. What we do here defines the future, Sarah broadcast to the fleet. Not just for humanity, not just for the Union, but for reality itself. Together. The hybrid fleet glowed with combined power, centuries of separated scientific advancement finally working as one. The Phoenix Dawn's quantum core reached critical resonance, channeling the combined energy of 1,000 civilizations. Engine at 99%. Rodriguez shouted, "It's now or never." Sarah took a deep breath. Fire. The Phoenix Dawn's main cannon fired, but what emerged wasn't just a quantum burst. It was pure possibility given form, the combined knowledge of every Union species focused into a single point. The blast struck the reality engine just as it reached full power. For a moment, space itself seemed to hold its breath. Then reality shifted. When the light faded, the Herald fleet and their engine were gone. But they hadn't been destroyed. They had been transformed. Where once there had been weapons of war, now there floated crystals of pure possibility, each one containing new laws of physics waiting to be explored. Status report. Sarah called out, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they had just witnessed. Reality stabilizing. Rodriguez replied, wonder in his voice. The Heralds, they're gone. But they're also still here, just changed. We didn't destroy them. We evolved them. As they sought to force their version of reality upon us, we showed them a greater truth. Ventar's voice was filled with awe. That the strongest reality is one built together. Sarah looked out at the field of possibility crystals, each one representing potential futures they could now explore together. The exile had ended not just with humanity's return, but with the birth of something entirely new. Send word to New Eden and the Union worlds, she ordered. Tell them that reality is what we make of it, together. As the hybrid fleet began the journey home, Sarah reflected on how far they had come. Humanity had returned from exile, not as conquerors or supplicants, but as catalysts for change. The Union had evolved beyond its rigid protocols to embrace new possibilities. And somewhere in the transformed remains of the Herald fleet, new futures waited to be discovered, futures they would explore not as separate species, but as one united galaxy.